if you wanted to play the best footy, you came to Scottsdale and played.
He just said to the rest of the blood, back to the centre, boys, he won't miss.
I just love to wear the Scottsdale Footy Club jumper.
It's a very history-dominated club.
Attack, attack, attack! Retaliation! Get down, retaliate!
Well, as we continue the amazing journey of this historical club, the Scottsdale Football Club, I'm joined with, two people who've had a major influence and contributed so much to the club on and off the field, Greg and Helen Lethborg. Nice to see you both. Welcome back to these club rooms, magnificent club rooms. These, Helen, you've been a part of this club obviously for a significant period of time as well, and you've seen a lot, but also committed so much to the footy club as well. When did your association with Scottsdale begin?
Oh, well, originally it started when Manny Ganninan and Kevin Simons came from Burnie. They were coached by my Uncle Paddy and they came here, so that was the start, that was the tie.
And the era of football was an amazing few decades of football up here in this region as well. We know obviously with that first premiership that the club won in the 1960s and going through that golden period. You had Brian Donahue coming from Essendon who led them to that first premiership that they had. But over the years, the names such as the Halls and the Lethborgs, it's a name synonymous with the area and the footy club. What were some of your great memories during that period as someone watching from the other side of the fence?
Just the camaraderie. Everybody seemed to know everybody, and even though I wasn't from the area, I felt like I was part of it. Of course, Mum used to bring us, there's myself and two brothers and a sister used to come, and Mum used to bring us, and we were new to the area, and it wasn't very long and people used to ask, where are you from? Who do you barrack for? And once I said, I'm for Scottsdale, well, I was made to feel part of it.
And you've been a secretary here at the club, a trainer as well, and you had a stint with the Hawthorn Football Club as well. You've been associated with them as well. That must have been pretty good.
Oh, it was. I was so excited.
How long was that for?
Just a year.
Just a year,
One year. Hawthorn used to come over, and it's when I used to be a trainer. They used to come over and they would have seminars for trainers. Yep. And I used to go to them all, and they got to know me. And then out of the blue, beginning of one year, they asked me if I'd like to help out on game day. And I said, yes. And then I had to try and work out how to get my players organised so I could go in on the Saturday for Hawthorn. But the NTFA kindly moved the game to a Sunday.
Fantastic. Well, that would have had to take precedence, surely. And Greg, for you, I mean, your career was an amazing one. You were part of that, of course, that famous Tasmanian state team that won that premiership in '73. We've heard some great stories about that, and the flight. We heard a little earlier Stephen Nichols tell the story about that. The plane was in the clouds and they didn't think that whether they'd be able to actually land to get to the game on time. But yourself playing in so many premierships, representing Tasmania as well, what did Scottsdale Football Club mean to you?
Well, it was my life really. I mean, I started playing football around here when I was 12 years old and continued on right through, so I spent many years here, all my life here of course, but that was all you do then. That was the way of life, and that's all there was to do. Winter was football, and so that's how it happened.
You played with some amazing players as well in your career. What was special about that Scottsdale Football Club during that period of the 70s and 80s in particular?
Well, back then you sort of got to know each other. You grew up with them pretty well, and it wasn't mainly locals played here, and that's how it was. And you got to know them and you respected them and just kept playing. You had success with them, and there wasn't a big turnover like there is these days. Like back in them days, you had the same 25 odd players, and every year you'd probably only get one or two new players coming in. So you had to stay in teams for years. That's why you had so much success, I'd say. But different to these days, where it seems to be about 8 new players coming to your club every year. Too big a rotation. But back in there, you're lucky to get a game in the seniors. That's pretty strong. You only had 1 or 2 positions available every year. So you had to wait for someone to virtually retire to get a spot.
And it's always that pressure, I guess, as well when you're in a successful team. But you were a senior coach as well. But back to your playing, who did you look up to? Who was a big influence for you in the start of your football career?
Well, I suppose back in the day, no, not really. It was, I suppose, Bob Chitty back in the days. I knew my parents. He just lived next door to me down the street, and he's the one that sort of got me into football a fair bit. But when I started playing, well, was the coaches and that here just worked your way through and just knew everybody. I suppose no one really encouraged me too much because that's all you done. And
that famous team, obviously that period winning that Tasmanian state championship as well, under Bob Wilson as well. He must have been. What level of coaching and did he bring to the club?
Well, he had a professionalism to the club.
Right.
And all the skill level. He introduced the old handball fanatic. That was new to the area, and that's what he insisted on all the time, and instilled all that in the team. Play for each other, and that was the way it went.
You are the games record holder for the Scottsdale Football Club as well, over 400 games. What was the secret to your longevity? Did you have a good run with injuries?
I was very lucky. Yeah,
very understanding what?
Right.
Very understanding.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's significant.
Yeah, no, I was very lucky in that aspect. Yeah, never got no injuries, only missed a few games through injuries, because I just worked out a while back here, I probably averaged about 20 games a year. And that's because we played in finals most of the time. So I played about 20 years with Scottsdale to get the 400 games. So it's a bit hard to work out now, but it works out 20 games a year at an average, which is a lot.
There's a lot. Never got suspended?
No, I never got suspended.
Never got reported?
No reports.
Wow.
No one reported hitting me either. So.
Oh, we had other blokes like Danny Orr who could sort out it. You had some pretty good protectors out there on the field.
Oh, we had that. That was the benefit of it all here. We always had a couple of named players. Yeah, to retaliate.
What's one or two of your personal highlights, Greg, over your career that you're really proud of? And it may not be with Scottsdale, or maybe just football in general. What do you look back on and really feel satisfied about?
Well, of course, playing all those games is one of the things, but the premierships is what you play for, I suppose, back there. And the 70 premiership, the first premiership I played in, that was good. The 73 team was exceptional. That really look back forward. That was a state undefeated year, and especially the state final when we come back and won that from being so far down, and continue on that year and playing that Australian Football League finals thing over in Adelaide. That was exceptional. It was something that never ever happened again, and we went pretty well in that too. And I suppose that stands out, but I suppose the main thing I think about was when I captain coached the premiership side in 1984. That was probably what I mainly look back on as an achievement. Yeah.
Helen, the Lethborg tradition continued with the boys playing football as well. How easy is it as a parent watching your kids run around playing football? Is it harder to watch the kids or harder to watch the husband?
Harder to watch the kids. Much harder. By the time the boys were playing, I was also a trainer. And when I first started, I talked to the boys, my boys, and asked them, look, I'm thinking of doing it. What do you think of your mum being in change rooms with you? And they said, well, you're there, mum, anyway, because I was always involved. And they said, but we will not call you mum on the ground. That was the only thing that they said, so.
There you go.
That was it, yeah.
I think you needed a free kick. It was a pretty ugly piece of play, and they will take a free kick. That's Chris Lethborg at a half-back. And there's Lethborg, kicks it out wide. He's been a good player today. Kicks it out towards centre wing on the far side, looking for Heath Blair. He can't take it, but Lethborg Matthew can.
As I said, you've been involved with the club for a very long period of time. How important is this club to not only the Scottsdale community, but obviously with the NTFA finishing up 4 or 5 years ago now, how important is it to the region that we not only maintain but continue to have a Scottsdale Football Club? Because we see a lot of clubs that have gone.
I think it's very important. I mean, it gives the community, or I think, something to look at, to aim for, to improve, to get together. You see a lot of a Saturday, you see a lot of groups of people of a certain age all gathered together, you know, and they might have been old footballers and friends and whatever, and there'll be that group, but then there'll be another younger group. And I think it just keeps the community together.
Well, it's very important. We see it in the NTFA now. You know, having a club like a Scottsdale as part of what is the biggest football competition now in Tasmania in terms of the number of clubs is vitally important. But look, Greg and Helen, we appreciate you coming down to these club rooms. Which, I mean, we look around the room and what we've got here. It's just who's who of photos and player names, but also the achievements of the club over a number of decades is fantastic. And the Lethborg name has been a big part of it, so thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Well, here with Lette, famous name of the Scottsdale Football Club, the Lette name, and certainly a great part of Scottsdale footy history for you. But what are some of your early memories of the footy club?
Oh, this footy club, well, always wanted to play football. So I started off with North Scottsdale in a junior team, sort of 12-year-old. We ventured on to the under-19s, I think they were those days. We had a couple of years, we hardly won any games, and the year after I happened lucky enough to be the captain. We went through the whole year undefeated in 1965. Then I played a couple of years in the reserves. I had trouble seeing things, tried contact lenses and stuff, and then Bob Wilson said, oh, well, Mum rang up Essendon, Jeff Blithen, he wore glasses, and I went to Melbourne and got these glasses. And I played in the seniors in 69, won the premiership in 70 and 71. And yeah, ever since then I've had something to do with the club. I've been a runner or a timekeeper or a match manager or a scoreboard or, yeah, so I haven't left really.
So, yeah, so you've had obviously an incredibly long association with the club. You must love the club. What do you love about it?
Oh, just a friendly atmosphere, it's like a family. We have dinners here every night after training for all the players, and yeah, it's like a big family. I should go on to say in 1973 when they won the straight flag, I played the last roster game, but I done the ligaments in my knee, so that was the end of that. So I didn't get to play in that team. But
how did that come about?
Playing down Launceston, she was a bit of a swamp down there those days, and yeah, another player fell across my leg, and that was...
Wasn't a teammate?
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was a bloody Launceston fella.
Was it? Jeez, bugger.
Yeah, anyway, so that's the way it goes. Yeah. Ever since then, I've sort of been involved.
That must have been a real disappointment for you.
It was. Yeah, in those days, they sort of put a bandage on you, you give a set of crutches and sent you home. Otherwise, well, I did play a couple, sort of a season after that, but yeah.
I think footballers at this generation, what they wouldn't appreciate as they watch the AFL nowadays is, back in your day as well, in the early 70s, you had an opportunity, or the club, Scottsdale Football Club, had an opportunity to play Melbourne one year in 71 and then Hawthorn in 1970. And we've got a photo here of you lining up on one of the all-time great full forwards ever in Australia in Peter Hudson. I mean, that's the stuff of dreams. How did you feel when you knew that you were not only going to be playing against Hawthorn, but the fact that you were going to be lining up on Peter Hudson? Were you as nervous as all hell, or were you excited, or both?
Probably everything like that, yeah. It was a dream, all right, but yeah, I enjoyed playing on him. He's a good bloke. He's a very uncanny footballer. He could sort of mark it anywhere and he'd kick those old flat punts from sort of 50 yards out. Yeah, it didn't matter on us going pretty well because they probably beat us by about 20 goals, so.
Right, how'd you go on him?
Well, Peter Fish, our historian, always puts in the paper that he kicked 15 goals on me, but the truth come out this year that we got in contact with Hawthorn. They want to know something about Lee Matthews or somebody. And yeah, actually only 10 goals, so I was pretty happy with that.
Geez, Fishy was a bit harsh on you then, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's what I thought. But he does work for Carlton, so he probably let it go.
Fair enough. But that was a game post-season in 1970. Hawthorn went on to win their second ever VFL premiership back in the following year in 71. But you mentioned some of the names. So Lee Matthews played in that game as well. I mean, you guys must have had stars in your eyes.
Yeah, we did. No, it was a great game. It was a fundraiser for St Giles, but we had our full team, and I reckon they would have had their full team too. And it was a beautiful day, and yeah, it was quite enjoyable. And, yeah.
What did you think of the opportunity back there? Because as I said, it's unheard of now. We'll probably never see that happen again, given the professionalism of footy. But how did you guys feel as a club when the opportunity came up that you were going to be playing against a couple of VFL teams over the next couple of years?
Yeah, the coach, Bob Wilson, he was all for that sort of thing. And it was a great opportunity to see how good those fellas and how they passed the ball and how probably much fitter they were than us fellas. Yeah, coming out the country, because we wouldn't have trained like those guys did. And no, it was a really good opportunity. They were really good players. Yeah, you see how they pass it to each other. And yeah.
In 1971, you played Melbourne. You actually beat them.
We beat Melbourne. We did have a couple of helpers though.
Did you?
Like Barry Lawrence and a couple of other guys. I think we had about 4 VFL players helping us that day. But we beat them. It was a real muddy, wet, horrible day. Yeah, and we beat them at York Park. So yeah, that was a good experience too.
And when I mention 2 words, because we've had a fair bit of feedback on these 2 words I'm going to mention to you. If I mention the words North Launceston, how do you feel about them?
Yeah. Oh, we used to hate North Launceston, the old Swampies, and they don't think they loved us much either.
Why is that though?
I don't know. I don't know why it is. It's just a thing, but yeah, we get on all right nowadays. But the guys you played against, you see them down the street and they always say, "G'day to you now." Bygones are bygones, I suppose. Have a beer after, but no, there was always tough games against North. They didn't mind giving you one. Yeah, we sort of give them 1 or 2 back, I suppose.
And I did hear 1 or 2 who were from Scottsdale and ventured to the other side. Didn't go down well in the town for a little while at times.
Would not. No, we're pretty loyal. We stick together. Somebody leaves and goes to play against us. Yeah, we don't like that.
And just finally, in your era, you were part of such a successful era. Who are some of the great players that you really looked up to at Scottsdale?
At Scottsdale? Yeah, when I first started, there was an old fellow named Dolly Millwood. I reckon I was a pretty good drop kick. And Donny sort of coached me a little bit on the kicking, and he was a great centre half back for Scottsdale in the years, like 64 or whatever it was, 65. Donny and old Stan Wilson, and cousin Kenny, he played. You look up to, especially Donny Millwood. I think he was such a good guy, and he'd sort of come away from training and he'd come over to you and say, "Look, you're not bringing your foot through far enough, or you're doing this or you're doing that," and he taught you how to be a good defender too. You punch the ball away and stuff like that, which is sort of different today. But no, Donny, I reckon. And
how'd you find it? The adjustment to playing with glasses as well. What was that like? Were you targeted at all?
Yeah, sometimes you were, especially on a wet day. Yeah, you were a bit of a target, but it didn't worry me. No. Long as I was getting the game, I didn't care.
No.
Yeah, the early glasses, they was a bit prehistoric. They were sort of metal frames and stuff, but the new ones that come out are sort of plasticky stuff, and if someone hit you, well, the lens would go forward, fly out rather than go back into your face.
And it allowed you to be able to play the sport you loved too.
Yeah, I'd sort of do anything to play with Scottsdale. Yeah. So that's what I did.
Well, look, thank you for being a part of this, because it's a great history that the club has got, and for this amazing photo here as well. I guess that you're pretty proud. You may have kicked 10, Fishy, mate, if you're watching this. How on earth you had a discrepancy of 5 goals, I'll never know. But that's a great memento that you must look on very proudly there at the great York Park.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for being a part of it.
Thank you.